Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for another live stream show. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out on this wonderful Sunday night, June 25th. It's the 25th of June already. That's crazy. Welcome to our Sunday night live stream show, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. We're live here inside John's Pass at Hubbard's Marina, and we're excited for a great show tonight. We got a good one lined up for you guys. We're going to be talking about the weather. We're going to be talking about fishing. We're going to be answering your questions live during the show. Plus, we're going to give away over $1,500 in free stuff. That's right. Over $1,500, absolutely free. All you have to do in order to be eligible to win is watch the show live, and then also make sure you continue to stay tuned. And if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you see your name pop up on the screen, you have to text us your full home address at the phone number on the bottom of the screen within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So all you have to do is watch the show live, and then stay tuned. If you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you got to text us within 5 minutes to show that you were watching live, to prove you were watching live. Now, also, don't forget to comment. You have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. But if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Trovo, if you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on TikTok, if you're watching on Instagram, comment no matter what, because it helps us to reach more people. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, especially if you're on TikTok, Trovo, Twitch. We're trying to grow those social media accounts, so help us out. We really need to try to get to 10,000 on TikTok, and it's been a huge challenge. So if you have not liked us on TikTok, you have not followed us on TikTok yet, please help us out and do so. Plus, there was some really entertaining TikTok videos posted today. We had some vandalism, we had some break-ins, we had some trespassing, we had some really smart individuals hanging around John's Pass last night. So you definitely want to check out our TikTok page. It's worth it. It's pretty funny. All right, with that, want to make sure we give a shout out to all of those sending stars tonight. Really appreciate all the stars senders making this show possible. Help fueling the show. We've got Larry White with the big 500, Ashley Petit a couple times, appreciate you, Todd Stutzman, Keith White, Jasmine Marie, D Beers. Then we had Nick Nieves with a big 1200 as always, Stephen Batchelor as well. We had D Beers again, and Yukimi Barker, appreciate you guys, Todd Stutzman again, Terry Feather, Lisa Hubbard with a big 500. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you, Miss Hubbard. Ryan Kelly, Scott Flynn, and then Christine Sirach. Appreciate y'all for watching and for helping us out with the stars. If you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, if you're watching on Instagram, the stars are a way for those on those watching on Facebook to show their support. So we appreciate you guys for helping us out with that. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by Gator Jim's Tackle, make sure you do so. And tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also, they are hiring right now. They're looking for some help over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. So if you are interested in working in the industry, working at a really cool tackle shop for great people with a great team, make sure you check out Gator Jim's Tackle. Again, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Now, with that, want to make sure that we also get into these photos. We're going to show you guys what we've been catching. We're going to talk a little bit about the weather. Then we're going to answer your questions. So make sure you have some good questions lined up for us. We want to make sure we get into those quickly tonight. So let's see. First things first, we're going to get into these inshore photos. Show you what we're seeing on the inshore side of things. And then we're going to work our way near shore and off. So inshore, we're seeing some of these flounder around. We also had some nice inshore gag grouper action starting to pick up, and we're seeing a lot of those gag groupers. This is our friend Scott showing off with the family here. We've definitely seen some big red drum moving in. The red drum action is Definitely pretty active, especially in the back bay, upper bay area. We're seeing some of these redfish in the passes and on the beaches, but mostly in the back bay, around the grass flats, mangrove shorelines, oyster bars. Really good area to find the redfish. Also, excuse me, guys. Also, a lot of snook in the back bay as well. We're seeing a lot of snook around the back bay waters. Pretty active in the passes too, especially early morning. We're seeing a lot of snook hanging around bridge lights, dock lights. Through the day even, we're seeing some snook in the passes and on the beaches. The water is definitely more murky right now. That murkier water is making it a little bit tougher to sight cast the snook on the beaches, but they're still actively feeding pretty well out there. Got a lot of sharks around too, so you never know. You might catch a snook, you might catch a redfish, you might catch a tarpon, or you might get a big old shark while fishing out on the beaches right now and then around John's Pass as well. But you could see here dock lines, bridges, grass flats, all producing some really active snook around the area. Look at that big girl from the back bay waters. Beautiful snook. Definitely a good time to get out there on the water and capitalize on the active snook bite. And our good friend Waiter Dave there, nice fish. Really good action. There's Scott from Angler 360 and Bel Air Bait and Tackle, and definitely catching some nice ones out there on the beach. And Dogfish Tackle, you can find him as well. Some nice tarpon action. Our good friends over at Salt Strong, Luke Simons and his better half with a big tarpon caught recently. A lot of good tarpon action. Make sure you leave those things in the water. Unless they're under 40 inches, you can pop them out for a second. But really want to try to do your best to handle those fish responsibly. So some nice inshore action. As you guys can see, the fishing is going well for us right now. And finally, the weather has calmed down and has allowed us to get out there and really do well. And hopefully we'll see you out here on the water soon. So let's see here. Near shore and offshore. Let's see what we got going on there. If I remember how to work these buttons. Some hogfish around still, surprisingly. Still seeing some hogfish. Hogfish bites going pretty well. Lots of big lane snapper as of late. We're seeing some big mangrove snapper near shore. Some true sheep's head porgies. Nice red grouper action. Scamps. We're seeing a lot of good action offshore, near shore, really all the way through the water column. And it's been good, man. The fishing is going well for us. We're seeing a lot of good action inshore, near shore, and off, and we're ready to get back out there. Are these the right photos? I feel like we've seen these photos before. I mixed some of them in. Is that why? That's my fault, guys. Sorry about that. I'm going through them. I'm like, this seems like I've seen these photos before. So some really good action, though, regardless of the duplicative photos. We've definitely seen a really good offshore bite of those red snappers, some really solid red grouper action, some nice scamp, big mangroves, a lot of yellowtail lately, some really nice mutton snapper as well. Really surprising the number of mutton snapper we've been seeing out there on the offshore game, the offshore side of things, and really consistent, good catches of those red snappers, some nice big mangrove snapper. And we got a wahoo. Wahoo came in this morning. We got a bunch of the Nomad DTX minnows in the shop, and guest caught a nice big old wahoo on that recent 39-hour. Look at the size of that red snapper. Some big boy red snapper, some nice scamp grouper. And really been seeing some good action out there on the Flying Hub 2, on the 12-hour extreme trip, the 39-hour, the long-range private charters. All really good opportunities to get out there and capitalize on some good fishing. So inshore, nearshore, offshore, as you can see, fishing is going well for us. And it's a great time to get out there on the water. Now, the next part of it is, how's the weather? What's the weather doing? Is the weather going to allow us to get out there? And we're going to get into that really quickly now. Ashley Petit, appreciate those stars. Louis Canaveri with the big 500 stars. Appreciate you, my man. James McCullum with another 500. Thank you, my man. Thank you, guys and gals, for those stars. with that, let's get into some photos. So we're going to pop over to our website page. No more pop-up on our website page. Voting has closed for Tampa Bay's Best of the Best. We were awarded the #1 fishing charter in the country, but we don't know about Tampa Bay's Best of the Best. We will know about that soon, but it won't be until late August, unfortunately. So we're going to go over here to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, then click weather links. And then we're going to scroll down here. Let's start inshore and look at the 5 and 10 hour forecast area. The weather was potentially looking like it was going to get a little breezy midweek, but it continues to fall down. Look at that. Dark blue really for a majority of the next 10 days, which is awesome. So even midweek now, it doesn't really puff up like it was supposed to or like it was forecasted that it might. So some really good weather conditions there. Absolutely gorgeous. Looking real nice. Let's go offshore into, look at that. Dark blue just as far as the eye can see. This is the kind of forecast we love to see this time of year. This is summer, y'all. Look at this. Look at this, Josh. June 30th, July 1st, July 2nd. That is 1 to 2 mile an hour winds. That is almost too calm. That is legitimately almost too calm. No anchor heading, just absolutely incredible calm conditions through the forecast area. We're going to pop over to spaghettymodels.com, our good buddy Mike from Mike's weather page. I cannot believe that we have such a good weather forecast in the mix here. Let's see. So we have a front that just doesn't make it into Florida. Yeah, just kind of hangs up. High pressure settles in. High pressure. So that's what's causing the sunny bluebird conditions. So we got that high pressure settling in where? So that is Friday, June 30th. Wow, that is a weak high pressure. So June 30th, the high pressure settles in and it doesn't set up an east wind. That's crazy. That's kind of a weird pattern, to be honest. No real strong prevailing winds, just a confused wind. Calm sea condition. Weird. This is summertime. This is what we call summertime doldrums. No real prevailing strong theme and just kind of moderate meandering weather. Which is interesting to say the least. Let's see here. Where are my regions? Wow. Yeah, not much rain in the forecast either, all the way through 2 weeks. Nothing much. Wow. It doesn't get much better than that, folks. It really doesn't. It's a Euro model that's all the way out until July 4th, potentially. So July 4th. But these are afternoon thunderstorms for the most part. That's what? Yeah, that's 0Z. So that's overnight. So even the little bit of rain that is in the forecast is that's afternoon and overnight thunderstorms. So it doesn't get any better weather-wise, long story short. Hopefully that'll hold true. Hopefully we'll see that through and we'll continue to see a beautiful forecast like that. I mean, I haven't seen a forecast like that looked that good in a while. So let's hope that stays the same way. Let's see here. We got to give away some free stuff. We got to give away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and a 39-hour for 1 guest. So let's see who won our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests goes to Trina Bozeman from Riverview. Congratulations, Trina, on the win for that 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Looks like she's got a family, so that's awesome. You and your family are going fishing on the 5-hour half day. It's great fun for the kids. So in that really small grainy picture I Just totally assumed that was family.
Family holding fish.
Oh, it's family holding fish? That's awesome. So hopefully they're going to be a family holding fish on a 5-hour half day now. So congratulations. We still have a 10-hour all day for 2. We've got a Hubbard's Marina swag pack and that 39-hour trip to give away too. But now we've got 45 minutes to answer your questions live during this show. So hopefully you got a lot of questions for us. We do have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. We just this past week did a redfish release with our good friends from Salt Strong and Moat Marine Laboratory. We've got the FWC commission meeting coming up in mid to late July. We've got a lot of stuff on the plate, on the docket. We've got beautiful weather. We've got killer fishing. And it's a good time to get out there and enjoy some fun in the sun. Actually, some surprisingly light loads as well. Tomorrow, we've only got 18 on the PM half day. Wednesday, we had, I think, 11 on the PM half day. This is the time of year those morning half-day trips are starting to fill up. 10-hour trips are starting to get a little busy. The Tuesday 10-hour, I think, has 42 on it off the top of my head. So it is getting a little bit busier, but not too crazy. And those afternoon half-days still running pretty light. Robert Holshouser, appreciate those 500 stars, my man. Tim Dykes with a big 600. Thank you, guys. Anthony Barnes, what's up, my brother? Appreciate all the stars, y'all. Thank you very much. All right, now, first question. When does the red grouper season open end, and what bait do you recommend? Fresh fish, pinfish, or dead bait? Red grouper season opened January 1st, and red grouper season is going to close July 21st at 12:01 a.m. That means July 20th is the last 39-hour trip for those red grouper, July 20th. So hopefully you'll get out there and take advantage of it. July 20th is the last one. So let's see. July 18th will be the last 39-hour trip for them. So hopefully you guys are stacked up. We definitely have a lot of room in July, especially August and later July if you want to get those red snapper. But if you want to get those red grouper and red snapper, you got to book before July 18th on those 39-hour trips. What's the plan on the deep trips once red grouper closes? The plan is to continue to target those red snapper and scamp grouper and mangroves and yellowtails and muttons and almacos and vermilions and porgies and all the other great fish that we've been catching, but we won't be able to keep those gag grouper, those red grouper, or the amberjack. Triggerfish will reopen August 1st. We also have amberjack opening August 1st as well. The amberjack season I don't think is going to last very long. I would imagine we're probably going to see amberjack season close pretty quickly after it reopens. At least that is what a little birdie told us at the last Gulf Council meeting. Some conversations were amberjack open August 1st and close like 3 weeks later. So I think before amberjack season even opens, we're probably going to have an announcement about its closure, unfortunately, which is probably going to be going over like a lead balloon, a fart in church, if you will, but we shall see. And definitely not excited about that. Are you allowed to fish from Johns Pass docks, and can you fish at night from the docks? You should check out our TikTok channel and find out about that. But you are able to fish from Hubbard's Marina. We are the only dock in Johns Pass that you can fish from. So you used to be able to fish from the boardwalk after 10 p.m. That is no longer legal. Technically, you cannot fish from any structure in Johns Pass proper. So you can fish underneath the bridge from the sidewalk. You can fish the jetty. You can fish anywhere around the bridge. You can fish the sand behind our office at night. But at night, you cannot fish from any wooden structure in Johns Pass. No docks, no boardwalk, none of that is available to fish from. During the day, the only wooden structure or dock structure in Johns Pass that you are able to fish from is our main dock at Hubbard's Marina. As long as we're not loading actively or unloading actively, and as long as there's no chaos going on the dock, you're more than welcome to join us on our dock for sure. But you just got to be respectful of the wildlife and the user groups that access the docks. But yeah, for sure, you're more than welcome to fish from Hubbard's Marina's main dock during the day. Once we close, you cannot fish from our dock. What fish do you prefer to eat? I would say all of them. But I would say probably my top 5. It's hard to come up with a top 5, but I would say the most readily available fish that we eat the most often, that I enjoy the most, would be mangrove snapper. It's my favorite to target. It's my favorite to eat. I really, really enjoy mangrove snapper, but I like triggerfish a lot. I like hogfish a lot. Sea bass is great. Mahi-mahi is good. Wahoo is great. Lionfish, really good. I would say lionfish, hogfish, triggerfish, a small scamp grouper or strawberry grouper would probably be my tops, my tippy tops. But, man, I haven't met many foods I didn't like. Have you seen me? I'm a very large individual, and I like food a lot. But I definitely don't have a favorite. I don't know. What do you think, Mike Anderson? What's your favorite fish to eat, buddy? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
You're not gonna like it.
If you say red snapper, I'm gonna drive to wherever you live, and we're gonna.
I'm just gonna ignore your question.
Yeah, he's gonna say red snapper.
I
actually faintly remember him angering me when he said that on the radio.
Yes, exactly. The minute you picked up and you started talking about that, I went, oh, this is going to go south because he's going to ask me. But I'm like you in that, man. Triple tail is fantastic.
Triple tail.
I really enjoy cobia. We just had some of that yellowfin tuna that Mahoney brought back from Louisiana. That was fantastic. I love mangrove snapper. I think mangrove snapper is fantastic. We'd always do a trip every August, me and my daughters and my wife, and I let them catch a pile of snapper in the bay. We bring them home, and we make snapper sliders, put it on Hawaiian rolls. My wife makes this homemade tartar sauce with a little piece of pepper jack cheese on top. Dear God and baby Jesus, it's so good. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fish that I really, really like, but I just do. I like red snapper, especially in the restaurants. A lot of times if, that's a special, then I order it. It almost never lets me down. I always think it's a pretty good piece of fish. So I know it's not your favorite, but I don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
My
man.
apologies.
No worries. At least you're honest.
Yeah, I don't get as much of it. I'm not an offshore guy, so I don't get as much of it as you. You have the opportunity to eat a lot more of it than I have. So
and also I think it speaks to the culture, right? I mean, if you are like yourself, you don't get offshore as much, and you're mainly consuming offshore species at a restaurant. 9 out of 10 times, if you look at a menu at one of those nice seafood restaurants, it's gonna be something like Chilean sea bass or red snapper or Atlantic cod or haddock, those really big kind of commercially viable fish. And in the Gulf of Mexico, definitely red snapper is king as far as commercially viable fish, because you know why? Because they're so stupid and they're so easy to catch, and there's so many of them. So they're very commercially viable because you get out there and you can load your boat with it. If you got enough quota, you can catch 20,000 pounds, 30,000 pounds a trip. Easy.
Right. Yeah. And then you're right. That's probably a big part of it. You tend to, migrate towards what you see. Mm-hmm. And because I don't get out there a ton, maybe I might do 4, 5, 6 trips a year offshore. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that will be more here. Probably 3 months from now, 4 months from now, when the 32 contender gets here, I'm going to start to be able to play out there a little more. Miss Beth has been pushing me. She's never really been offshore much other than our stuff in Costa Rica. So
nice.
She's got an itch. Yeah. Matt Ford, the owner of Gills, He's really good out there. He runs a big old Freeman. He's got a new boat coming. I was just texting with him earlier about, maybe getting some snapper trips going with the girls before this thing's over. So, I'm going to try to broaden my horizon.
There you go. Yeah, that Gills Freeman vessel is a beautiful boat. I hope to see it at ICAST again. He was selling it.
No,
though,
it won't be. It won't be. He sold that one. It won't be at ICAST. His new one's supposed to be here next week or something. So
what's he getting? Like a 47?
I don't know. I didn't even ask him, but I'm sure it's big and beautiful.
I saw they were testing the Freeman 47 with the new 600 Mercs on it. And
wow.
it was getting 73 at watt. Crazy.
Yeah, I know the big 44 ST, the Contender is in that same speed range.
That would scare me.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I was on hull number 4, filmed a show out of Key Largo with Gus from GTB Marine down there in Key Largo, and I was blown away. And even not being, overly offshore experienced, I've been in a lot of, big time offshore boats and spent some time with the pro marine guys and, a lot of different things. And I was just blown away, 12-foot beam, it's like fishing on this giant floating barge. Yeah, it's what they're doing now with center consoles. Whether you're into the cat boats or you're into the center console, Contenders and yellowfins and all that. It's incredible what they're doing with those boats now. So,
and it truly is
pretty magical
to watch.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right,
we need to get there someday.
Yeah, I'm with you. How's the inshore bite going? What are we seeing on the water?
Well,
any improvement since last time we chatted? Any
no,
good news?
It was a pretty tough week. And I think there's a lot of, we were on the backside of the moon. We kind of got blown out there on the moon, which is never good, especially the new moon.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a heartbreaker because it's my favorite moon of the month. But the bite's been tough. But a lot of that has to do, you have to always put the pieces of the puzzle together and try to understand what's going on. We had so much rain at one time. The water temp changed, although it went down, which is a positive. A couple of cloudy days will really change that. A big influx of fresh water. We had a lot of wind out of the west, which isn't normal for, multiple days on end. So there's a lot of variables that go into making the bite tough. I think it's going to pick up, as we talked about this morning on the Team Honey Company show, and then you and I talked about it yesterday on the Bartow Ford show. It's going to get better, I believe, as we get towards the full moon. If this week's weather stabilizes some, I think it's going to get better. I'm optimistic for tomorrow. The tides are not great, but they're good. They're not horrible. And I think the bite will be better than what I had, Friday. So, it's been a weird year. It just has, with that big warm up we had in February. We had fish pulling out early this year out of the backcountry. That just changes things up a bunch, The salinity levels, we were kind of dry there for a while. The salinity levels got real high. The fish were kind of all spread out. It's just been a weird summer, or a weird spring, I should say, headed into summer. So, we'll see. I'm optimistic. Like I said, I think, and I've been doing this a long time. So it's a bad habit of charter captains is to, when you get up in the morning, if you've been doing it for a long time and you've been able to make a living doing it, you just tend to believe in yourself that, this next trip, you're going to put a game plan together that gets it done because it's just what you do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works out and you show up at the dock at, 1, 2 o'clock or whatever it is when you're done fishing and, you either feel really good about yourself or you're like, man, I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what these fish are doing because I just can't get them to go. So it'll be interesting, but like I said, I believe that as we get further into this week, it's going to get better day by day.
Yeah. I think as we move closer to that full moon, and we were looking at the kind of the overall prog charts, it seems like we're going to have a high pressure settling in as well. Kind of a weak one though, but I think that's going to make the end of this work week a really good opportunity to potentially really see an increase in the bite, because you have not only that pressure situation kind of setting up, but you have a moving barometer, you have the incoming full moon, and then you'll be on the backside of a little bit of a confusion in the upper level atmosphere. So I think it's going to be a good end of the week for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. So, and I hope we're right. It is what it is. We had a really, really, really good late July, August last year. Maybe the best late July and August I've ever had. So even though I think the inshore stuff, other than tarpon, because there were some really good tarpon days mixed in, but I thought the inshore bite in June overall has been tough, tougher than it normally is. But I'm optimistic. Again, and maybe it's because I learned some things last July and August that really helped me. I took some days where I didn't have charters and I just spent some time on the water. Me and my first mate, Josh, just got in the boat and we rode shorelines and we just kind of looked, not burning shorelines, not on plane, but just spending time in the tower, trolling motor on, just looking, trying to find schools of mullet, trying to find some redfish, trying to find some snook along some deeper mangrove shorelines, areas where you had moving water. And we picked up a lot of stuff that really helped us through July and August, which are typically pretty tough months because of the temperatures.
Yeah.
Even just the other day, Friday, when we were just really, really had a tough bite, Josh kind of looked at me on our way into the marina at the end of the day and said, hey, we're due a day or two of just looking. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. We need to just get in the boat and just spend some time looking and see what we're missing. Again, we were sitting on some fish on Friday and we just couldn't get them to go. But, when that's the case, you got to find some fresh fish. You got to find some fish you don't know about. You've got to, be able to hit some spots that you haven't hit in a while. So, and that just takes time on the water. I've been preaching it for years in my seminars. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to, on a day when you have a medium to high tide, so you don't want it crazy high because the fish will get way back in the trees, but medium to high, put your boat in the water and don't carry a rod. Get on the front of your boat on your trolling motor and just slowly cruise some shorelines. Do your homework. Put some time in. Find the mullet schools. 10 years ago, it seemed like we had mullet everywhere. Today on Tampa Bay, that's not the case. You got to find out where those mullet are. When you find those big schools of the big mullet, you're going to find fish. It's a great indicator. And I just, that's just what it is. It's evolving for me as a charter captain since when I first started. You could just, there was way less captains. There was less people fishing. There was more fish. And you could just fish a pass and catch 50 snook every morning. And if you weren't catching them, you just didn't belong
in the good old days. Is that what
well, yeah, I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's changed. And what you have to do was, back then you didn't have to work that hard at it. There's, 25 or 30 passes. You could hit the passes, and one of those passes is going to hold fish, and sooner or later your day will bust loose. Well, now with all the pressure and all the guides and just the growth, and the amount of pressure on the fishery, it's just changed. So you have to think outside the box. You have to look at fish at your estuary differently. We have areas that got beat up by, red tide issues and dumpings and pollution. And we got to, those fish went somewhere. Where did they go? You got to go to work and figure it out. So again, I'm optimistic. I think the week will be good. Yeah. It's just, it's the same thing with offshore. I mean, you got to do your work. It's a numbers game. Yeah. You got to put your time in. You got to work at it. The really, really good fishermen, whether they're charter captains and professionals or they're, people that fish the Skyway Pier. The thing that makes them great is time on that pier, time on the water.
Practice.
That's what makes them great. That's what you got to put in. And that's where we're at. I need to spend a couple of days just doing some more homework and figuring some stuff out. And, that's what we'll go do and we'll catch them up.
Yeah. Yeah. Preach. I mean, it's the same
Preach
thing.
It, brother. Preach it.
Same thing offshore, just like you said, getting the feel for the bite, feel for the bottom, holding the bottom, making sure you're not missing the bottom. And then also when you're working that jig, when you're trolling, it all comes down to what works, those little variations, those little tiny things, and keeping your eyes open, your ears open and your mouth shut in a lot of cases, and learning from people around you. That's why I like party boat fishing so much. You really have an opportunity to learn from a lot of different cross sections of society. It's cool.
There's no doubt. I've said for years that there's some incredible anglers that don't own a boat.
Incredible.
They're kayak fishermen who catch fish all the time. There's people who fish that Sunshine Skyway Bridge, who fish the piers at Fort Soto, who are straight up bad to the bone. There's guys who get on your boats, your Hubbard's boats, and kick their tail just about every time they go because they've been doing it a long time and they are dialed in. They know how to play the game. They've done their homework. They put their time in, and that's the name of it. This is a sport where you just don't show up, slide by Gator gyms, load up on the best of the best, and just go out there and catch fish. Yeah, you still got to put your work in.
It's like playing basketball or going to the gym or anything.
Anything else, 100%.
Got to put the time 100%. In. Got to put the practice in.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Good points, good tips. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for calling.
Dude, always good, my brother. I appreciate the time, and I look forward to getting with you this week and figuring out what we're going to do on the show next week.
All right, brother. Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, buddy. Talk soon. Night. Thanks, pal.
Hey, by the way, did you see my comments today on the live stream?
Oh, I saw them.
Okay.
You smarty pants.
I just want to
make
sure.
My wife chimed in and rubbed them in when I got home to booth. She was chiming in as well.
I just want to make sure. All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I still love you. You're a jackwagon. You're this week's jackwagon of the week. But
I was watching on the video stream, and then I saw you read it, and then I saw your reaction. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Good stuff. Bro.
All right, man.
Good stuff, my friend. All right, buddy. Have a great Monday. I appreciate it.
See you, Mike. Thanks.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Always a pleasure. So, now that he's off the phone, I can tell you. So Mike invites everybody down. He does this big trip down to Costa Rica, to Zancudo Lodge, to be specific. You have an opportunity to join Mike and his better half, Beth, and they do this little 3 days or 4 days of fishing down in Zancudo Lodge, and you could choose to stay a few extra days if you want, but it's like 3 or 4 days of fishing, and it's like a fishing tournament. It's really cool. He films the whole thing and puts it on TV. So my wife and I and my dad and my mom joined, like, I don't know when it was. It was a while back. My wife and I had just gotten married, or it was right before we got married. I don't remember. But long story short, my first and only trip down there, Mike's been down there, I think, 7 or 8 times. We were catching bait right at the mouth of this bay, what I remember to be called Crocodile Bay, but I guess I don't know if that's the real name or not. But it's the south end, the south west side of Costa Rica. And we're just north of Panama. And at the mouth of this bay, it drops from like 60 foot to like 1,500 foot. It's just like this underwater cliff. And there's this like mountain peak that comes out of the water. And we go there and catch bait, blue runners. And we take them offshore and we catch some small bonita, put them in the tuna tubes. And we take those offshore for blue marlin, black marlin, sailfish, whatever we might run into. We caught a bunch of sailfish and mahi. I caught one of the biggest mahis I've ever caught, biggest sailfish I've ever caught, and a lot of sailfish. It was fun. But long story short, catching bait. There's all these blue runners. It's just crystal clear water. It's gorgeous. I start seeing red flashes. I'm like, what is that underneath that school of bait? Sure enough, massive cubera. So I start free lining back one of the bait fish on a 4-aught conventional reel, and sure enough, this cubera snapper's on the surface like a redfish eating my blue runner, and it was so awesome. And did that for a while, ended up catching a really nice like 40-pound cubera snapper. It was beautiful, and we were like 100 yards from shore. It was pretty wild. So I caught a cubera. Then that same trip, Beth caught a cubera, and then the next trip, I wasn't there. I had only gone once, but Beth caught another cubera. Long story short, Beth's caught 2, I've caught 1. Mike's been there 7 or 8 times now and still has yet to catch a cubera snapper. So that is the comment that I had to bring up this morning. And I always tend to remind him of that every now and again. It doesn't get old. All right, so let's see. Next question. Dan the Fishman said, you talked about a couple radar apps on the radio yesterday during your Real Animals radio show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Can you refresh my memory on the go-to radar apps? So our Weather Links page is really the main squeeze of weather. This is where I spend most of my time on our Weather Links page, skipping between wind finder buoy locations. So this top side over here, you can choose one of these predetermined buoys, or you can go to the weather station and you can actually choose your own weather station, or you can advance and kind of watch the weather patterns as you move through the days and time of day. You can even switch the time of day and kind of get the trend of what the wind's doing through the daytime. So you can use the wind finder for a lot. Also, Windy is very similar to wind finder. We used to have Windy on here. I think we took it off because it was a little bit harder to use. Yeah, I don't see it on here anymore. But Windy is another one very similar to wind finder that we use a lot. Then the NOAA forecast is a good one right here. Kind of gives you an idea of what the official weather stations are calling. But then the big one is the buoys, looking exactly at what's going on now. So I look at the wind finder forecast, the NOAA forecast, the Windy forecast, and then I really dial into, all right, what's actually happening by looking at the buoys. This bottom one here, it says choose your buoy here. So like wind finder, we have some specific buoys that you can look at, which are just kind of general areas, or you can go to choose your own buoy. And this is really cool because you can kind of zoom in and approximately get at what exactly you want. This buoy over here, the Clearwater Pier Buoy, at least that's what it's called, Clearwater Beach. This one gives you wind, some really good wind readings. So I really like looking at this to get an idea of what that wind's actually doing. This is a cool way to see, all right, here's the forecast. The forecast is saying it's blowing, it's supposed to blow 10 miles an hour, but I pull up that buoy at Clearwater Beach and it's blowing 18. So right there, I know the forecast is wrong and it's going to be much more rough and much more windy than what they're forecasting. So I look at the forecast on NOAA, on wind finder, on Windy sometimes, and then I balance it against what's actually happening by looking at those buoys. And then radar-wise, my favorite radar app is Radar Scope. Radar Scope is something that Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather page actually turned me on to. The Radar Scope app is awesome. I really recommend it. But it is a little bit expensive for the high-end stuff, but you really don't need the high-end stuff unless you really are kind of a weather nerd like me. The cheap, I think it's like $2 or $3 or maybe $10 a year is all you really need weather-wise. So you don't have to get crazy with it. But Radar Scope's a great option. My Radar is a free one that works pretty well. It just can sometimes take a little long to load unless you turn off a bunch of the layers. A lot of our crew likes the weather, what's that? Weather.com. Literally, it's like the Weather Channel. Yeah, the Weather Channel app. I don't love that one, but the one cool part about the Weather Channel radar is it shows you what's happening, and then it goes into future radar. So it's one of the only radars that I know of, radar apps, where you can look at what's happening now, and then it goes seamlessly into the future if you pay for it. And it's not that much money. And it's kind of cool to see, all right, here's what the radar's showing, and then here's what the future radar thinks is going to happen with this storm. So that's pretty cool. So those are the main ones I use. My Radar, which is free, and then Radar Scope, which is the best one, and I spend the money for it because I use it, and I'm a little bit of a weather nerd. And then the Weather Channel app, which can kind of give you a cool look at the radar. But it is also another paid one for all the cool stuff. All right, let's see here. Answered that question. What's another question we got here? Have you done any micro jigging, like 5 to 30 grams? No, not myself. Most of the time, the jig fishing, the slow pitch jig fishing that we're doing is out there on our 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour. I've done some on the 10-hour all day, but not much. Really inside 50, 60 foot of water, I have not slow pitch jigged myself, but there is a lot of micro jigging rods and micro jigs that are pretty cool. So it does work from what I've heard, and I do know some friends that have done it really shallow as 30, 40 foot of water and had some pretty good success with it, but I haven't done it myself. What does the 10-hour drift or anchor? Been on the 5-hour a couple times and they were drift fishing. The 5-hour half day will most of the time drift fish. The 10-hour all day will most of the time anchor fish, but they both kind of switch it up. The 10-hour will do a little bit of drifting, a little bit of anchor fishing, but I would say majority of the time we're anchored. And then your 5-hour half day is the opposite. We do a little bit of anchor fishing, we do a little bit of drift fishing, but most of the time we're going to be drift fishing on a 5-hour half day. So that's the general rule of thumb, at least. But it does kind of switch back and forth occasionally. Do you have waiting lists for your sold-out 39-hour trips? No. We used to do that, and what happened and what occurred to make us stop is, so let's say July 20th. I'm just pulling a random date up. Let's say we had a sold-out trip July 20th, and Joe Schmo over here calls the office and wants to be put on a wait list for that 39-hour trip on July 20th. We put him on a wait list, Joe Schmo, party of 2. Then someone cancels, and all of a sudden we can put Joe on that trip. But then the problem becomes contacting him. Hey, these are the spots that opened up. These are the bunks that opened up. Are you sure you're going to go on that trip? And then he wouldn't answer. He was at work, and he couldn't answer. And then it became a problem because then we're holding a spot for a guy, and then he could call us back, and he's like, nah, I don't want it anymore. I got on another trip, or never mind, or yeah, I want to go, but that's not a spot I want, so I'm not going to go. And it just really created a really big burden on the office trying to chase people down. And then what would happen is, all right, so someone cancels off that July 20th trip. We're trying to get a hold of the person on the wait lists, and then a new customer calls and says, hey, I saw you have an open spot on July 20th. I want it. And we have to turn that customer away to potentially get a hold of this other person. And it was just a big nightmare. And it caused a lot more anger and a lot more frustration for our guests, and a lot more anger and frustration for staff. Because like in the morning, someone cancels, the morning staff's trying to get a hold of someone, they don't. In the afternoon, that person finally calls back, and the afternoon staff has already filled that by someone else calling and wanting that spot, and it just becomes a nightmare. So long story short, no, we don't offer the waiting lists anymore just because of the intricacies and logistics behind trying it. We tried it a couple different ways, and it tended to create a negative customer service impact. So anything that causes a negative customer interaction is something that we try to do the best we can to get rid of. And that's why we don't do wait lists. If a spot opens up, generally it gets booked really fast online because people will periodically check in on a trip and say, I want to go on this July 20th trip. So they periodically check in, and when a spot opens up, they book it really fast. So that was another challenge. Someone would cancel off, and we'd be calling the person on the wait list, and someone would book it online out from under us, which really made people angry. So it was one of those things we had to cut back on, unfortunately. Now, next question is, how are the scamp grouper biting? We're seeing a lot of scamp, some pretty good numbers, especially when we get out there into deeper water. This last trip, we were in deeper water. We saw a lot of good scamp action. Sea bass we're seeing on our shorter, closer to shore trips for sure. We're seeing a lot of sea bass. Ashley Petit, appreciate those 440 stars. 800 stars. Thank you, Ashley Petit. Don Schuett, what's up, buddy? Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200 stars. Thank you, my friend. Thank you all for the stars. Haven't thanked you all recently, so Sorry about that. Let's see what our next question is. We need to give away another free trip. We've only done one so far. So let's see who won another one of these free trip giveaways. We did our 5-hour half day for 2. Let's do our 10-hour all day for 2 guests. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Michael D. Marinville. Congratulations, Michael, for the lucky win. That's a 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests on the live show. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim it by texting us your full home address at the phone number at the bottom of that screen. So asked how scamps were biting. We're definitely seeing some scamps out there in deeper water. They're biting best on smaller to medium pinfish. We're catching them on those cut dead bait as well. Sea bass, we're getting a little shallower, 5-hour half days most of the time. We don't get a ton of sea bass this time of year. Most of the cooler months we see more sea bass, but that's about it. Next question. I've been seeing quite a few dead hammerheads washing up on shore. What could be the cause of this? I saw a dead hammerhead today, and it was eaten by another hammerhead. They're super aggressive and territorial, and they will eat each other quite a bit. They also tire themselves out and will die as well. And we're seeing more sharks, more hammerhead numbers. So more hammerhead sharks means more territorial fighting, which means more dead sharks washing up. And more sharks around means the greater chance that they're going to get caught, a greater chance that you're going to see more dead ones washing up, unfortunately. So I would say hopefully, or I would say most likely, we're seeing more dead sharks just because there's more population of sharks. We have a huge shark population, bigger than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm 32 years old. More sharks than there ever has been, in my opinion. We have a problem with the number of sharks. It is an apex predator. It is an important species. I'm not saying there shouldn't be sharks, but the number of shark attacks has spiked. The number of I'm not scared of sharks. I like swimming with sharks, but dude, there's a lot of sharks out there now. It's crazy. It's starting to get a little out of hand. I think it has been a little out of hand. Let's see here. Is the July 11th trip almost full? I'm on it, and I look forward to seeing you guys. So the 12-hour is full, and also the 39-hour is full on the July 11th trip as well. It's red snapper season, y'all, so they are running more full, but we do have those light load or limited load trip options, and I believe the next one is July. I want to say it's like July. Maybe July 11th. Yeah, it is July 11th. So it is that light load trip has 35 people on it. So it's full, but it's only full with 35 people on it. So not bad at all. How big should a squid piece be on the hook? It depends on what you're fishing for. So the 39-hour that got back in today, we were catching a lot of those red snapper on squid strips, and 8 to 10 inch pieces, 8 to 10 inch long pieces, maybe 3/4 to a 1/2 inch wide. For a yellowtail snapper, maybe a 1/4 inch wide and 2 inches long. For a triggerfish, maybe a 1 inch strip that's a 1/4 inch long. For a gray snapper, I like for the lane snapper, for a lot of those near shore species, I like a smaller kind of 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by maybe a 1 inch long strip, those little nuggets. So it kind of depends on what you're fishing for. What size mouth of the targeted species are you going after? Let's see. With all the bigger batter center console boats with 3, 4, and 5 outboards, electronics with high definition and relief shading, how long will the middle grounds remain sustainable? I don't think it's very long. I mean, that is going to be the next challenge. That has been talked about in the last 3 years, 4 years at the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, is the problem that we face with technology. As technology improves, as motors get bigger, center consoles get bigger, more people are out deeper water. We've already seen it on the South Atlantic coast. You're only allowed one snowy per boat, I think, and they have a season on snowy grouper. Those deep water species grow extremely slow. You see someone post a big photo of a snowy grouper or yellow edge grouper or a Warsaw. Those things are like 50 to 100 years old in some cases, especially the big ones. They grow incredibly slow. Like a big gag grouper, like a 20-inch or a 20-pound gag grouper, he's only going to be maybe 10 years old, even 6 to 10 years old. They grow pretty fast. Gag grouper, red grouper, mangrove snapper, red snapper, incredibly fast. Again, stupid fish. But some of those deeper water species, they grow really slow. So as more people get out there, as technology improves, electric reels improve, they were actually talking about trying to ban electric reels in the South Atlantic because of that issue of technology improving and allowing people to go deeper, faster, further, and fish for bigger fish in deeper water. So it's definitely a challenge that we're going to have to face. What that looks like or how that's going to happen, I don't know. But I could imagine in my lifetime, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a movement to close the middle grounds. And honestly, I might even support that in 10 years, 15, 20 years from now. Because that is a really big topographical. I don't know. For some reason, I had a brain fart. But big topographical feature that allows for a lot of fish to recruit and potentially spawn. So if they prove it to be a spawning aggregation site, then potentially I would support maybe closing that area. But it's definitely something I don't even want to talk about right now because we fish it a lot and I don't think it's there yet. But having closed areas for fish to proliferate, we have already seen that in western dry rocks. They did that down south. They had a huge closure around Tortugas. They had a huge closure around the western dry rocks. We've seen a lot of Florida Bay closures and a lot of spawning aggregation sites and a lot of offshore marine protected areas. And we've already seen mutton snapper and yellowtail snapper proliferate. They've expanded spatially, meaning they've expanded their distribution geographically across the region. We're seeing more yellowtail snapper and bigger sizes moving further north. And I think that has a lot to do with the health of the fishery really getting better on our coast because we closed the area that those fish are spawning. Western dry rocks, Tortugas, a lot of closed areas. So potentially, if there's really good science to prove that, like say the stickies, the edges, the humps, Madison Swanson, Western dry rocks, the Tortugas, all these really popular large topographical areas can be closed and allow for more fish to be produced and then disseminate across the region, then potentially, if there's good science to back that, I could potentially see us supporting that. So to answer your question, could I potentially envision the Florida Middle Grounds closing sometime because of the improvement in technology and bigger boats going further, faster? Yes, definitely could see that. And I definitely could see that in my lifetime. It's definitely something that is in the back of my head all the time. Along with white grunts, if they ever talk about managing white grunts, we're gonna have some problems. What charter? Speaking of white grunts, what charter would be good to take out to get something other than white grunts? Well, a white grunt or a gray snapper is going to be really the most common fish out to about 100 foot. Then it's lane snapper out to about 140 foot. Then it's red snapper beyond that. So if you want to get past the grunts, you got to go on a specialty trip. a 12-hour extreme, a 39-hour, a 44-hour. If you're 5-hour half day, 10-hour all day, then you're going to find grunts, mostly grunts in that area, unless you're using a bigger bait to get away from them. But grunts are the most common, most aggressive, dumbest fish, 100 foot and shallower. Red snapper, the dumbest, most aggressive fish beyond 150 foot. Then you got lane snapper in between them. As far as most common and most aggressive, but lane snapper are dumb. We like lane snapper. All right, let's give away our swag pack, and we'll try to fit in one more question. We are running a little late tonight, but hey, time got away from us a little bit. So let's see who won our swag pack. Remember, if you're the lucky winner of the swag pack, you also have to send us your T-shirt size along with your home address to the phone number on the screen. Let's see who the lucky winner is of that swag pack. Amanda Downey, eating fish in SRQ. Isn't that like Sarasota Regional Airport? Pretty sure that's the what do they call that? Acronym? Not an acronym, but the airport code, SRQ. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, Sarasota Bradenton International Airport. See, I know my airport codes. So hopefully you're flying somewhere to go fishing. What month brings the biggest catch on a 39-hour trip? Really, it depends on what you want to catch, because seasons are kind of spread out, right? So red snappers June 1st through August 24th. Red grouper closes July 20th at the end of the day. Gag grouper are September 1st through November 10th. Amberjack are opening August 1st and potentially only staying open for a short amount of time. And then triggerfish opens August 1st and should hopefully be open for the rest of the year. So it just depends what you want to catch. As far as the biggest catch, it also depends on what you're looking for, right? I think every month has a unique thing to kind of target. I mean, in January, we see a lot of big mangroves. The loads are light. There's not a lot of people around. February and March, super light loads. Great time for mangrove snapper. We're seeing a lot of those good yellowtails. We see some really good pelagics, blackfin tunas. April, we get deeper again. Still lighter loads for the most part. Really good time for fat red grouper, scamp grouper. Then May, real light loads. People getting excited for red snapper season and stop fishing pretty much. And we see a lot of good. May is one of my favorite times of year to fish. Best weather. Really, really good pelagic action in snapper and grouper. Then June and July is total chaos with the overrated red snapper. Then we move into August, September. It gets a little hot, but the snapper bite is good. We see some nice grouper. Amberjack open up. You got a chance for some of those oddballs like cuberas. Then October, November gets really nice. October and May, really my two favorite months. October, you got that transitional period. November and December, historically, best times for gags. This year is going to be weird because they're going to close November 10th, so we're not going to really have the gag grouper bite, but you're going to see good blackfin tuna, really good hogfish bite. You're going to see a lot of mangrove snapper options, some pretty big yellowtails occasionally, so some really good options all the way through the year. It just depends on what you want to catch. All right, so let's we answered a lot of questions. We still got that 39-hour to give away, but I want to make sure we remember to tell you guys this upcoming Friday is Final Friday. Don't forget to go to Final Friday, johnspass.com for all the information. We also have an event page. Josh is dropping in the chat too. Make sure you join us this Friday, June 30th, for free crawfish boil, free beer. We've got our brand new Real Animals Catch beer on sale as well. So we're going to be giving away free beer. We're going to be selling our brand new craft beer, Catch. And we also have the new and improved Final Friday crawfish boil. It's going to be a great time. So join us this Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. for Final Friday. Then August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st at 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be out there at Bartow Ford, Captain Mike Anderson and Lisa Fitzgerald, talking, fishing, and having a good time. Free food and free prizes. So you definitely want to join us for that as well. With that, I think that's all we have announcements-wise. Hopefully we'll see you guys this Final Friday at John's Pass. There's tons of businesses involved. There's a bar crawl, Delos's Pizza, Scully's, The Hut, the Pirates Pub and Grub, John's Pass Grill, and then, of course, Hubbard's Marina as well. There's a few others. If you go to finalfriday.com, finalfridayjohnspass.com, there's a map with all the participating businesses. Oh, the Tiki Bar as well, Florida Tiki Tours, and then also E-Water Sports, Yogurt City, and then Sunshine Scenic Tours as well. So there's a pretty good number of businesses involved, a lot of cool deals, big pub crawl, live music, and then, of course, the best and the biggest party is at Hubbard's Marina with free crawfish, free beer, and a great time. So hopefully we'll see you this Final Friday. With that, we are going to give away a 39-hour fishing trip. Hopefully we'll see you guys this week at Hubbard's Marina. Don't forget to help us out, guys. Tell a friend about the show. Tell one person this week, hey, have you heard of Hubbard's Marina before? They do this really cool show Sunday night. You can learn more about fishing, and you can also win free stuff. So tell a friend about our show. Help us to spread the word. Help us to grow the show. And hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves. Hopefully we'll see you out for this beautiful week of weather. Come find out why we're the #1 fishing charter in the nation. And don't forget, help us out on TikTok, guys. We really want to try to grow our TikTok channel. If we get to 10,000 people on TikTok, we have a whole new iteration of the way we can run our live stream show. It's going to really help our live stream show. So we really want to get there. Help us out. Get to 10,000 people. Make sure you follow us on TikTok. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. If you are a part of our supporters group, the supporters group live after show is going to kick off at 8:50. 850 in the supporters group. So if you want to join the supporters after show, make sure you join us at 8:50 in the supporters group. So what is our TikTok? It's Hubbard's Marina. Just search Hubbard's Marina. You can find us on TikTok. Shouldn't have too much problems, hopefully. If you do have problems, you can always shoot me an email, info@Hubbard's Marina. I'll send you the link, but it should be tiktok.com/Hubbard's Marina, or you should be able to just search Hubbard's Marina on TikTok, and you'll find us. All right, with that, it is time to win some free stuff. Let's see who won our 39-hour fishing trip for one lucky winner. Make sure you text us within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live as well. Patrick Dixon from South Riding, Virginia in Anna Maria Sound. Well, congratulations, Patrick. You just won a 39-hour trip. You got 5 minutes or less to claim it. Text us at the phone number on the screen. Hopefully we'll see you very soon at Hubbard's Marina. Hopefully we'll see you for Final Friday, and hopefully we'll see you out in the water. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Make sure you tell one person about our show. Bring a friend every week. Make sure you bring a friend. If you see value in the show, if you see value in Hubbard's Marina, you want to help us out, you want to do Josh and I a favor, bring us a friend. One friend, one person. We appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. We'll see you on the water.